Dr. Hansel Park rubbed his tired eyes and looked at his computer screen again. The numbers didn't make sense. He had checked them 5 times already, but they still showed something impossible. According to the data from Earth's newest space telescope, there was a tiny black hole sitting at the edge of our solar system. But that couldn't be right. Black holes weren't supposed to be that small. He reached for his phone and called his research partner, Dr. Jae-yun Kim. Even though it was 3 a.m., she answered on the second ring. Hansol, what's wrong? Jae-yun, I need you to look at some data. I think our telescope found something strange. He sent her the files while still on the phone. The sound of her typing filled the silence as she opened them. After a few minutes, she spoke. This can't be right. Are you sure the telescope is working properly? I checked everything. 3 times. The data is real. Hansol got up and walked to his office window. The night sky looked peaceful, but somewhere out there, something impossible was happening. It's a micro black hole, Jae-yun. It's stable, and it's just sitting there at the edge of our solar system. But that's not possible, Jae-yun said. Black holes that small should evaporate almost instantly. Hawking radiation. I know the theory, Hansol cut in. But the data doesn't lie. And there's something else. He paused, wondering if he should share his crazy idea. Remember our paper from last year? The one about information preservation across event horizons. The one that everyone said was impossible. Yes, I remember. Jae-yun's voice grew excited. Wait, you think this could prove we were right? Hansol smiled. His partner was thinking the same thing he was. This black hole is small enough to study up close. If we could send probes near it, we might be able to test our theory. We could prove that information isn't really destroyed when it crosses the event horizon. The scientific community will say we're crazy, Jae-yun said, but he could hear the smile in her voice. When do we start? Meet me at the lab in an hour. We need to check this data again. And then we need to call every major space agency on Earth. Hansol looked at his computer screen again. The numbers hadn't changed. They had discovered something that could change our understanding of the universe. They worked through the rest of the night, checking and double-checking their findings. As the sun rose, they became more certain. They had discovered something that broke all the rules of physics as we knew them. This tiny black hole shouldn't exist, but it did, and it might hold the key to proving their controversial theory about how information behaves inside black holes. By noon the next day, their lab was filled with other scientists. Everyone wanted to see the data for themselves. Some said it had to be a mistake. Others suggested their telescope was broken. But Hansol and Jae-yun knew they were right. Look at the radiation patterns. Jae-yun explained to the crowd. They're stable. This black hole isn't evaporating like it should. Something is keeping it alive. One of the older professors shook his head. That's impossible. The math doesn't support it. Maybe our math is wrong, Hansol suggested. The room went quiet. In science, suggesting that accepted theories might be wrong was a bold move, but Hansol continued anyway. Maybe we don't understand black holes as well as we think we do. This could be our chance to learn more. As the day went on, news of their discovery spread. Space agencies around the world began preparing missions to study the mysterious black hole. Hansol and Jae-yun's phones didn't stop ringing. Everyone wanted to know more about the impossible object they had found. That evening, as they finally left the lab, Jae-yun turned to Hansol. Do you think we're ready for what we might find? Hansol looked up at the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, their discovery was waiting. I don't think anyone's ever ready for the unknown, he said. But that's why we explore. That's why we do science. Little did they know, their discovery would soon attract attention from beyond Earth, and their understanding of the universe was about to change forever. 3 weeks after their discovery, Hansol and Jae-yun were working late at the International Space Station's new research wing. They had moved their operations to space to get better readings of the mysterious black hole. The station's viewing window offered a clear view of Earth below, glowing blue and peaceful against the darkness of space. "Look at these new readings," Jia said, pointing to her screen. "The black hole's behavior doesn't match any of our models." Before Hansol could respond, all the screens in the research wing started flashing. A mechanical voice came through the station speakers. "Unknown object approaching. Distance, 100,000 kilometers and closing." Hansol rushed to the window. At first, he saw nothing but stars. Then, the light appeared. It grew larger, moving faster than any human spacecraft. Within minutes, a sleek silver ship twice the size of the space station had parked itself nearby. "Are we getting any communications?" Jia asked the station's control center. As if in response, a voice filled the room. It spoke perfect Korean, though no one had transmitted anything. "Greetings, Earth scientists. We are the Luminary. We have come because of your discovery." An hour later, Hansol and Jia sat across from Dr. Han Bin Lee, the Luminary representative. He looked human, except for his slightly silver skin and completely white eyes. He had chosen a Korean name to make the humans more comfortable. "Your discovery of the micro-black hole has caught our attention," Han Bin said, placing a small device on the table. It projected a detailed 3D map of the black hole. "We have studied these phenomena for over 10,000 years. Then you can help us understand why this one isn't evaporating?" Jia asked, leaning forward. Han Bin shook his head. "I'm afraid you're approaching this all wrong. Your mathematical models, while impressive for your level of development, miss the fundamental nature of black holes." "What do you mean?" Hansol asked, trying to hide his disappointment. "You see black holes as destroyers of information, as cosmic vacuum cleaners," Han Bin explained. "But they are more like libraries. They store information in ways your science hasn't yet grasped." He touched the projection device again, and the image changed. Now they could see waves of energy flowing around the black hole in patterns that made Hansol's head hurt. "This micro-black hole is artificial," Han Bin continued. "It's a seed, planted by another species we've never met. We've found others like it throughout the galaxy." Jia gasped. "You mean someone made this black hole on purpose? But why?" "That's what we've been trying to figure out for centuries," Han Bin said. "Each one seems to contain different information, but we haven't decoded any of them yet." Hansol thought about their theory on information preservation. "Our research suggests that information might not be destroyed when it crosses the event horizon. Could these artificial black holes be using that principle to store data?" For the first time, Han Bin looked surprised. "You've theorized this already, at your level of technology." He studied them with new interest. "Perhaps we underestimated humanity's potential for understanding." "We'd like to share our research with you," Jia offered. "Maybe together we can figure out what these black holes are trying to tell us." Han Bin was quiet for a moment. "Normally, we don't share our advanced knowledge with younger civilizations, but your approach to this problem is unique, different from how we think." He stood up. "I will need to consult with my superiors, but I believe we could learn from each other." As Han Bin left to contact his ship, Hansol and Jia shared an excited look. Not only had they discovered an impossible black hole, but they had also made humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization. "Do you think they'll really work with us?" Jia asked. "They need us," Hansol replied, watching Han Bin's ship through the window. "They've been studying these black holes for thousands of years without solving the puzzle. Maybe they need a fresh perspective, a human perspective." Little did they know that their human way of thinking would soon challenge everything the Luminary thought they knew about the universe. Dr. Yu Jin Choi stared at the massive quantum computer network display in front of her. For 2 months, the Luminary had been sharing their observational data about artificial black holes, but they refused to consider her ideas about using Earth's quantum computers to study the problem. "The readings are always the same," Han Bin said, standing behind her. "We have observed these patterns for centuries. Your machines cannot tell us anything new." Yu Jin turned to face him. "But that's exactly why we need to try something different. You've been looking at the black holes the same way for thousands of years. Maybe it's time for a new approach." In the corner of the lab, Han Sol and Jia Yun exchanged worried looks. They knew Yu Jin was brilliant, but challenging the luminaries' methods was risky. The aliens might decide to stop sharing their knowledge entirely. "Show me," Han Bin said suddenly. Everyone in the lab looked at him in surprise. "Show me what your quantum network can do." Yu Jin didn't waste any time. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she fed the black hole data into Earth's most powerful computer system. "We've connected all of Earth's quantum computers together," she explained. "They can process information in ways that normal computers can't." The main screen filled with swirling patterns of light. "This is how our network sees the black hole's energy patterns," Yu Jin said. "It's breaking down the information into quantum states." Han Bin stepped closer to the screen. "This is impossible. You cannot map quantum states from such a distance." "Actually, we can," Yu Jin said. "We're using a new theory about quantum entanglement. The black hole's radiation is entangled with the space around it. We're reading those entangled patterns." The room grew quiet as new data began appearing on the screens. The quantum network was finding patterns that the luminary had never seen before. Han Bin's white eyes grew wider. "There," Yu Jin pointed to a repeating sequence. "The black hole isn't just storing information, it's processing it. It's like a giant quantum computer itself." "That's not possible," Han Bin said, but his voice was uncertain. "Our studies show." "Your studies are based on observation alone," Han Sol interrupted. "We're not just watching the black hole. We're trying to understand how it thinks." Jia Yun stepped forward with her tablet. "Look at these calculations. The patterns match ancient human writing systems. The black hole isn't just storing data, it's trying to communicate." Han Bin was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. "In all our years of study, we never considered." He paused. "The Luminary Council will call this approach dangerous and primitive. They will want to stop this research." "But you don't agree with them, do you?" Yu Jin asked quietly. "No," Han Bin admitted. "Your species sees things differently. You take risks we would never consider. And sometimes," he gestured at the screens full of new data, "sometimes those risks lead to discoveries we never imagined possible." "Then help us," Han Sol said. "Help us convince your council to let us try our way. We can work together, combine our knowledge." Before Han Bin could answer, all the screens in the lab flashed red. New data was pouring in from the black hole. The quantum network had found something big. "What is that?" Jia Yun asked, staring at the strange symbols appearing on the screen. "I believe," Han Bin said slowly, "that is an invitation. The black hole wants us to come closer." Yu Jin looked at her colleagues, then at Han Bin. "Are we ready for what we might find?" "No," Han Bin said with a small smile. "But perhaps that's why your human approach works. You're willing to face the unknown, even when you're not ready for it." The symbols continued to scroll across the screen, calling them toward a mystery that neither humans nor Luminary had solved alone. But together, they might have a chance. Dr. Sun Wukang stood in front of the large window at the space station's engineering bay, watching his team assemble the probe. After 3 months of work, the device was almost ready. It looked nothing like traditional space probes. Its shell was made of new materials that could withstand extreme forces, and its core contained the most advanced quantum sensors ever built. "Your design breaks every rule of probe construction," Dr. Minji Park, the Luminary chief scientist, said as she walked up beside him. "It will not survive." Sun Wu kept his eyes on the probe. That's what everyone said about our quantum computer network too. But look how that turned out. Minji touched the window glass lightly. This is different. Our probes have never lasted more than a few seconds past the event horizon. The forces are too strong. That's because your probes fight against the black hole's pull, Sunwoo explained. Ours is designed to work with it. He led Minji to his computer and showed her the designs. See these curves in the outer shell? They're based on the patterns we found in the black hole's quantum signals. The probe will flow with the space-time distortions instead of resisting them. Minji studied the designs carefully. Despite her doubts, Sunwoo could see curiosity in her white eyes. The concept is interesting, she admitted. But the risk is too high. If we lose this probe, the Council will shut down the entire project. Then we better not lose it, Sunwoo said with a smile. Later that day, the entire research team gathered for the probe's final tests. Han Sol and Jia-Yun monitored the quantum readings while Yu-Jin ran simulations on the computer network. Han Bin watched from the corner, his face unreadable. All systems are ready, Sunwoo announced. Beginning test sequence. The probe hummed to life. Its outer shell began to glow softly as the quantum sensors activated. On the screens, data flowed in perfect patterns, just as they had predicted. These readings are impossible, Minji said, checking her instruments. The probe is generating quantum fields that match the black hole's patterns. Not generating, Sunwoo corrected her. Resonating. Like two tuning forks vibrating at the same frequency. Suddenly, all the alarms in the lab started blaring. Red lights flashed as new data poured in from their sensors near the black hole. The quantum signals from the black hole are changing. Yu-Jin called out, "It's responding to our probe." On the main screen, they could see the black hole's energy patterns shifting, forming new sequences they had never seen before. It was as if the mysterious object was reaching out to them. "We need to launch now," Han Sol said urgently. "The black hole is opening some kind of channel. We might not get another chance." Minji stepped forward. "The Council has not approved the launch. We need to wait." "There is no time," Han Bin interrupted. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. "I will take responsibility. Launch the probe." Sunwoo didn't hesitate. His fingers flew across the control panel, starting the launch sequence. Through the window, they watched as the probe detached from the station and moved toward its transport ship. "Do you really think it will survive?" Minji asked quietly. "I don't know," Sunwoo answered honestly. "But sometimes you have to break the rules to make new discoveries." The transport ship's engines ignited, carrying humanity's hope toward the mysterious black hole. In a few days, they would either make history or lose everything. The room was silent as everyone watched the ship disappear into the distance, each person lost in their own thoughts about what they might find beyond the event horizon. No one noticed that the black hole's signals had formed a new pattern on one of the smaller screens, a pattern that looked remarkably like ancient Earth symbols for welcome. The transport ship Horizon carried both hope and tension as it approached the black hole. Dr. Jin Young Lee sat at her station, watching the readings from their new probe. After 5 days of travel, they were finally close enough to deploy it. "The black hole's signals are getting stronger," she reported to the mixed crew of humans and Luminary. "The patterns are clearer than ever." Captain Sun Wukang nodded from his command chair. "Status of the quantum shields." "Operating at full power," Han Bin replied from his station. The Luminary scientist had insisted on joining the mission, despite his council's objections. "But the gravitational forces are already stronger than our models predicted." Jin Young studied the data flowing across her screen. Throughout her career, other scientists had called her theories about space-time crazy. They said it was impossible to retrieve information from beyond an event horizon. Now she had a chance to prove them wrong. "Beginning probe deployment sequence," Sunwoo announced. Through the ship's windows, they could see the small probe detaching from its housing. Its silver surface glowed softly with quantum energy. "Look at these readings," Jia-Yun said excitedly from her station. "The probe is already picking up new signals. The black hole is reacting to its presence." The main screen showed the probe's view as it moved closer to the black hole. The star field began to twist around the edges as space itself bent near the massive gravitational force. "We're receiving the first data stream," Jin Young reported. Her hands moved quickly over her controls as she processed the information. "These patterns, they're not random. They're structured, like a language." Suddenly, Minji's voice cut through the excited chatter. "Warning. Gravitational forces are increasing rapidly. The black hole's behavior is changing." Everyone watched as the space around the black hole seemed to ripple. The probe's outer shell began to glow brighter, resonating with the strange energies around it. "Should we abort?" Han Bin asked, his white eyes fixed on the readings. "No," Jin Young said firmly. "The probe is doing exactly what we designed it to do. It's establishing a quantum connection with the black hole's information field." The ship's computers began processing massive amounts of data. Patterns appeared on all screens, showing complex mathematical sequences that neither humans nor Luminary had seen before. "These equations," Minji said in wonder, "they describe space-time in ways we never imagined. The black hole isn't just storing information, it's teaching us." Jin Young focused on a particular set of symbols appearing in the data stream. "These patterns match my theories about information preservation in curved spacetime. The black hole doesn't destroy information at all. It transforms it." The probe continued its approach to the event horizon, sending back more data with each passing moment. Both humans and Luminary worked together, recording and analyzing everything they received. "We're making history," Sunwoo said quietly. "Human and Luminary science working together to solve one of the universe's greatest mysteries." Just then, a new pattern appeared on the main screen. It was different from the others, more ordered, more deliberate. Jin Young leaned forward, her eyes wide with realization. "This isn't just data," she whispered. "This is a message. Someone left this black hole here for us to find. And now they're reaching out to us." The crew fell silent as the pattern continued to form on their screens. They were about to discover something that would change both their civilizations forever. The only question was, were they ready for what they would learn? No one had an answer, but they were about to find out. Dr. Do-Hyun Kim watched the probe's readings from his position at the mission control station. Everything had been going perfectly until now. The probe had sent back more data about black holes than humanity had gathered in its entire history. But something was wrong. "The quantum field is becoming unstable," he announced, his fingers moving quickly across his control panel. "The probe's resonance patterns are shifting." Captain Sunwoo turned to Minji. "What's happening?" The Luminary scientist studied her readings with concerned white eyes. "The gravitational forces are creating interference. The probe cannot maintain its quantum connection." This is exactly what we feared would happen. On the main screen, they could see the probe's video feed. The view of space around the black hole had become distorted, with light bending in strange patterns. The probe's outer shell was glowing much brighter than it should. "We're losing the connection," Jia-Yun reported. 10 minutes until total failure." Han Bin stepped forward. "We must recall the probe now. We cannot risk losing all the data we've collected." But Do-Hyun had noticed something in the readings that nobody else had seen. A pattern in the quantum fluctuations that reminded him of something he'd studied years ago. An old theory about gravity waves that everyone had said was impossible. "Wait," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I think I can stabilize it." "That's impossible," Minji said. "Once the quantum field destabilizes, nothing can fix it. All our research proves this." "Your research is based on what you think is possible," Do-Hyun replied. He was already programming new commands into his console. "But what if we're all wrong about how gravity affects quantum fields?" Sunwoo looked at him carefully. "What are you suggesting?" "The probe's problem started when it tried to maintain a constant quantum field," Du Hyun explained. But what if instead of fighting the gravity waves, we use them? Like surfing on the ocean. Jin Young's eyes widened. You want to modify the probe's quantum field to match the gravity waves. That's never been done before. The calculations would have to be perfect, Han Bin warned. One mistake, and we lose everything. 7 minutes until failure, Jae-yun announced. Do-hyun took a deep breath. Captain, permission to try. Sunwoo looked around at his crew, both human and luminary. Then he nodded. Do it. Do-hyun's fingers flew across his console as he input the new commands. The probe's quantum field began to change, its patterns shifting to match the gravity waves around it. On the screen, the probe's glow changed from bright white to a deep blue. It's working, Min-ji said in amazement. The quantum field is stabilizing. But how? The gravity waves aren't just distortions in space-time. Do-hyun explained as he fine-tuned the adjustments. They're patterns, like music. We just needed to help the probe find the right rhythm. The probe's data stream suddenly strengthened. New patterns began appearing on their screens, clearer than ever before. The black hole's message was becoming stronger. Look at this, Jin Young called out. The probe isn't just receiving data anymore. It's having a conversation with the black hole. Everyone watched in wonder as symbols flowed across their screens. The probe had survived what the luminary had thought impossible, and now it was helping them understand secrets about the universe that neither species had imagined. I think, Han Bin said slowly, we have much to learn from each other. The crisis had passed, but the greatest discoveries still lay ahead. As human innovation combined with luminary knowledge, they were about to learn things about black holes that would change both their civilizations forever. Dr. Hai-Jin Cho had not slept in 2 days. She sat in the data analysis lab, surrounded by screens showing the information from the probe. After Do-hyun's breakthrough with the gravity waves, the probe had sent back more data than anyone had expected. Now it was her job to make sense of it all. You should rest, Min-ji said, placing a cup of coffee on her desk. The luminary scientist had been working alongside her, comparing the new data with thousands of years of their own observations. I can't, Hai-jin replied, taking a sip of coffee. Look at these patterns. They're changing everything we thought we knew about black holes. She pointed to one of the screens. See this. The quantum data shows that black holes don't just store information. They process it, like a huge computer. But they do it in a way that's completely different from what we imagined. Min-ji leaned closer to the screen. The way the gravity waves interact with quantum fields, it's like a new form of mathematics. Exactly, Hai-jin said excitedly. Your people have been watching black holes for thousands of years, collecting data about how they behave. We humans came along and started making theories about why they behave that way. Put them together, and we get a complete picture, Min-ji finished. Her white eyes showed understanding. Your human theories combined with our long-term observations, they fit together perfectly. Just then, Han Sol and Jae-yun rushed into the lab. You need to see this, Han Sol said, quickly connecting his tablet to the main screen. We've decoded more of the message in the black hole's signals. The screen filled with complex patterns that slowly resolved into something that looked like words, but they weren't in any human or luminary language. It's some kind of universal language, Jae-yun explained. Based on mathematics and quantum states, the black hole wasn't just left here for us to find. It's part of a network, a galaxy-wide communication system created by an ancient civilization. Hai-jin stood up, staring at the symbols. You mean there are more of these artificial black holes out there? Hundreds of them, Han Sol confirmed. Maybe thousands, each one containing different pieces of information. The luminary found many of them over the years, but no one realized they were connected until now. Because no one was looking at them the right way, Min-ji said softly. We were so focused on observing them that we never thought to interact with them. And humans. We were so busy making theories that we didn't have enough real data to test them. Hai-Jin finished. But together. She turned to her computer and began typing quickly. Look at this. If we combine the luminary's observational data with our quantum computing analysis, we can start mapping the whole network. The main screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. Points of light began appearing, showing the locations of other artificial black holes. Lines of energy connected them, forming a vast web of information. It's beautiful, Minji whispered. It's more than that, Hai-Jin said. It's an invitation. Whoever built this network, they wanted different civilizations to find it, to work together to understand it. They knew that only by combining different ways of thinking could we unlock its secrets. As they watched, more data flowed across the screens. Each new piece of information changed their understanding of the universe a little more. Human theoretical models and luminary empirical data were finally working together, revealing mysteries that neither species could have solved alone. The paradigm shift wasn't just about black holes anymore. It was about how different civilizations could work together, each bringing their own strengths to solve the greatest puzzles in the universe. 1 year after the first probe entered the black hole, Dr. Ji-Woo Park stood before a mixed audience of humans and luminary in the Great Hall of the International Space Station. Behind him, screens showed the vast network of artificial black holes they had discovered across the galaxy. Today, we present our unified theory of black hole communication, he announced. This theory combines human mathematical models with luminary observational data, creating something entirely new. The room was silent as Ji-Woo displayed the equations that had changed everything. They were beautiful in their simplicity, showing how gravity, quantum fields, and information work together inside black holes. For thousands of years, we thought black holes destroyed information. Ji-Woo continued. The luminary watched them carefully, gathering data. Humans made wild theories about how they might work, but neither of us could see the whole picture alone. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the audience. It showed their probe, still sending data from inside the black hole's influence. The quantum field around it pulsed with patterns that everyone could now understand. The ancient civilization that built this network knew something we're just learning, Ji-Woo said. They knew that different species think differently. Some watch and wait. Others jump in with new ideas. It's only when these approaches come together that we can solve the universe's biggest mysteries. Han Bin stood up from his seat in the front row. The Luminary Council has reviewed your findings, he announced. We agree that this discovery changes everything. We would like to propose a permanent partnership between our civilizations. The audience broke into excited whispers. A year ago, such an offer would have been unthinkable. The Luminary had always kept their advanced knowledge to themselves. There's more, Ji-Woo said, drawing everyone's attention back to the screens. The black hole network contains messages, information about technologies and discoveries that could help both our civilizations. But each message needs both human intuition and luminary wisdom to decode. Dr. Han-Sol and Dr. Jai-Yun, who had first discovered the mysterious black hole, joined Ji-Woo on the stage. We've only begun to understand what the network can teach us, Jai-Yun said. Each black hole contains different pieces of a larger puzzle. And the most exciting part, Han-Sol added, is that we're not the only ones meant to find it. There are other civilizations out there, each with their own way of thinking. The network is waiting for all of us to work together. The screens showed new data arriving from the probe. The patterns were clearer now that they understood how to read them. They spoke of distant worlds, advanced technologies, and mysteries still waiting to be solved. This is just the beginning, Ji-Woo concluded. We've learned that the greatest discoveries happen when different perspectives come together. When we combine careful observation with bold new ideas. When we're willing to believe in impossible things. As the audience applauded, Ji-Woo looked out at the faces before him, human and luminary together. Beyond the station's windows, he could see Earth and the stars. Somewhere out there, the mysterious black hole continued its patient work, waiting for other civilizations to join the great conversation. They had crossed the event horizon not just of a black hole, but of their own understanding. What they found on the other side wasn't darkness, but light, the light of discovery, of cooperation, and of new horizons waiting to be explored.